I'll be back if you're joining us. This is Firecrackers. Although we've really looked ahead, but feel free to join us on our Facebook page. We stream live on Facebook, so you may catch up on what we've been discussing so far. So now we are about to talk about the effectiveness of the renewed hope initiative Palliative on the removal of fuel subsidy. So the federal government has decided to give some palliative to 15 million households across Nigeria in an attempt to cushion the effect of fuel subsidy. So I'm going to be asking Paul Alaje this question first. How effective do you think that would be in this point, at this point in time?
Well, I must say that I commend the strategy adopted, unlike the former administration where they make bazaar of naira, put naira on the table, and you could not trace who got what. This time, without BVN, it becomes very impossible for monies to be given. So it means that now we can find unique identity of those that are truly poor. Someone like me, I will not need that the money government wants to give, 75,000 naira to be given to about 15 million household. So I may not necessarily be involved, but we are saying that we have over 133 million people living in multidimensional poverty, and government is targeting about 75 million or so of them, to support them. But unlike what we have seen in the past, where money will be kept on tables, and you hear that we have shared money to 100,000 people for 5,000 naira. No record. People can write any form of signature. So if you want to spend money in today's age, whether you live in urban center or rural community, what is sane is that you have access, to banking sector. And the good news again is that Central Bank of Nigeria is hoping to increase the total number of people that are banked. So with this new strategy, even those that might not be banked but wants to have government support, it becomes a precondition for them to access such money. I must also quickly now balance my presentation by saying that not everybody will be captured, definitely. And we have seen government saying it will support government workers, federal government workers, with about 35,000 naira, when labor threatening to go on strike. We have seen few state governments have also said they were going to support. But I can tell you, as of today, about 26 states have not been able to domesticate the same. Lastly, what happens to SMEs? The president has promised 100,000 naira to support small businesses for a period of time. So will the money come as loan or as grant? If it's loan, I think 100,000 naira is small. And I also think that government should start today, because the impact that this is having on the private sector, especially small businesses, is quite hard. And I hope that we're going to start seeing the difference as soon as possible.
The renewed palliative to poor households in Nigeria, cushion effect of fuel subsidy removal. How effective do you think that would be?
Well, I think what Mr. President and his lieutenants are doing is that they are trying to make life easier for some people. But I want to say, with all due respect, that at the inception of this administration, that was shortly after the first subsidy removal, there was an initiative of the government to pay money to some persons in this country. They said the poor. But Nigerians kicked against it, which brought about another strategy. Now this now came into being that some persons will benefit the money. I pray is paid to them. But if the measures put in place as stated by the government is followed, I think the money will not go to the wrong hands, because they are not going to pay cash and they are not going to pay directly. I think it's going to be paid to the accounts of the beneficiaries. With your NIN and BVN, you benefit it. So if that is done, it will one way or the other improve the cost of living of some Nigerians, but not all Nigerians. And if that is done, it will be fair to some. But I have an issue there. What about those poor persons who do not have bank accounts? And with due respect, some do not even have NIN. Some do not even have BVN, because you cannot have BVN when you don't have bank account.
Or a phone.
Yes. Then some do not even have phone. Then some in the communities they reside, there is no power supply there. There is no GSM service provider there. So that is my take. I know some communities like that, even within this part of the country, like because Southwest and some other areas. Now, so that is my take. Now, if the method is going to be balanced, the government should have a rethink about persons who are not and who do not have access to telephone, then the NIN and the BVN, and they still fall under the category of poor persons in the interior part of the country. So those people should be considered. And then I want to say with respect that if the government is interested in taking care of those persons as persons that will benefit from the funds to be released, Mr. President, with due respect, don't entrust such funds to politicians. Because let us be sound with ourselves. They are already strategizing ahead of 2027. So that they will not divert the fund and use it as a backup for their own ambition. So let the government devise a means that those persons who do not have NIN and who do not have BVN, and yet the government wants to consider them, they should devise a means of ensuring that such funds get to them. Because I think the thing is designed for household poor persons. So since it has a particular category of persons, it's going to let it go to that area. Then also, I'm not unaware of the fact that the civil servant, the civil service, the government has had a consideration about them. This idea of payment, is it still going to be extended to those persons that the government has one way or the other considered? So there should be a rethink about that area and the idea to balance to make sure that the pendulum does not swing to one side alone. It won't be a one-sided affair, so that a civil servant will not benefit from the government's initiative, at the end of the day, still benefit from the recent proposal of the government. That would be a double benefit on the part of such a person. So the government should please have a look at that area, critical look at that area, so that one person would not take what belongs to 10 persons. It's very, very important. Because once these funds are released now, and then the lieutenants are there, politicians, they have their methods, they have their strategies of making sure that things are done in their favor. So that people will not say, Mr. President, this thing was done, people did not benefit. Meanwhile, it is as a result of the persons being entrusted to such scheme to be carried out. Okay. So I am suspecting such a thing that it may happen. But having said so now, I think the persons who are closer to the president may likely relate to him. And I urge you to do so, to avoid complicity.
Okay, all right. And because we've run out of time, in conclusion, this goes to Paul Alaji. Let us give people hope. Hypothetically, let's say by the end of the year, our refinery starts working and the CNG vehicles that was promised, everything gets delivered and it starts working. Now, for 2024, looking on to 2024, how do you see Nigeria? Do you see the inflation decreasing if hypothetically these things are put in place?
Well, I must say that the refinery conversation is a different conversation entirely. If you have private refinery come up, it's a monopolistic market, it might not have direct impact on inflation. But what you need to tackle is not just inflation that is growing, you also need to tackle the exchange rate, so that if you are trying to stop a flow from one side, it will not have implication on the other side. My projection is that other things being equal, which is ceteris paribus, other things being equal, if you are able, and what are those conditions we want to hold constant? If you are able to make at least 2 refineries work, including the private refinery, to serve as some level of competition, and we're able to make our FX to be stable, then for next year, we'll see inflation figure drop. But I doubt, because even in the MTF paper that government read and we heard from the Minister of Budget and National, from the Minister of Planning, we have heard that inflation government is projecting, it's even up to 21%. What it means is that what we have seen this year, we will still see double digits, not just double digits, but in the 20s, 21% inflation expectation is what government is considering. What will happen if we invest? You put your money in savings account, you get, microscopic interest of 3 to 5%. But the inflation, according to government figures, is going to be as huge as 21%. Then where will the economic miracle, where will it come from? It's a huge challenge. I think government, before submitting finally to National Assembly, we need to rethink that particular document because it's not speaking well. What is the target of inflation by central bank? 6 to 9%. Unfortunately, throughout the administration of President Buhari, we never had one single digit inflation. We have seen a new president who said he wants growth rate to be 6%. I'm really hoping and I'm agreeing with him that he will put out a correcting that will make him bring down inflation figure and push up growth rate of Nigeria. But if that is not done, I'm sorry. We might still have more people being thrown into poverty at the point. I need to quickly say something that the learned lawyer have said that.
And that's Paul Alaje, who joined us live from Dubai, an economy expert. Many thanks for being part of our show.
Thank you so much for having me.
And then also in the studio, Dr. Yemi Omotele, legal practitioner. Thank you too for being here.
Thank you, the presenter, and the viewers are too.
And this is where we officially draw the curtain close on today's episode of Firecrackers. My name is Yoruba Mr. Lackle. See you same time, same station next week. To have a wonderful week ahead. Goodbye.